Africa wants a freedom. Africa must be free.
Oracles indicated that Kwame Nkrumah was a devil.
Mr. President, there is a coup.
I've never seen such an explosion of joy.
Accra, Ghana's capital city and the largest city in the country. The word Accra is believed to originate from the Akan word nkran, meaning ants. It is no wonder that you will see men and women hustling and bustling under the blazing sun to earn a penny or two. In these very streets walked a great man, a man who led Ghana's liberation struggle. His name, Kwame Nkrumah. It was during his reign that Ghana made great developmental strides, like the building of the Tema Township, the Accra-Tema Motorway, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the Great Akosombo Dam, and of course, his key role in the formation of the Organization of African Union. With Kwame Nkrumah, beyond the borders of Ghana, he is hailed for his achievements.
This decade is the decade of African independence. Forward then to independence. To independence now. Tomorrow, the United States of Africa.
To him, African Union was a passion, and I think he's right. Look at what is happening in Africa now. Congo, the richest country, what is there now? Warlords all over with this private enterprise from outside. They do what they like. I mean, and look at what is happening in all Africa. He foresaw that if we didn't come together, we would be in our present state.
Dr. K.B. Asante was the Secretary of State during Kwame Nkrumah's rule. He recounts Nkrumah's character.
He could be charming when he wanted to, but normally, as someone who worked with him, he was what I would call a charming, hard taskmaster.
He was a good dancer, and he liked music, yes. And we would hear music. But I remember high life music around us.
His smile was infectious.
Perhaps you didn't hear what I said.
That was the charm of Nkrumah, a man who was very committed to Africa. Nkrumah lived and died Africa.
In September of 1909, in a village in the Gold Coast, as Ghana was called then before independence, a son was born. Francis Newyear Kofi Ngonioma, to his father a goldsmith, and his mother a retail trader. This name later changed to Kwame Nkrumah. Nkrumah was educated at the prestigious Achimota College in 1930 and thereafter became a teacher.
Nkrumah was a very ordinary human being. He was human like all of us. He was born in a very small, tiny village in the western region of Ghana. He had his education, Catholic education, went to a Achimota school, initially wanted to be a Catholic priest, and eventually taught in the Achimota School, which was the most prestigious high school under the colonial rule.
At the age of 26, Nkrumah left the Gold Coast to study at Lincoln University in the USA. He read widely from the literature of Karl Marx and Marcus Garvey. And from then on, ideals of socialism became appealing to him.
Nkrumah was very much inspired by Marcus Garvey and the whole idea of return to Africa and black freedom. That inspired him a lot too. So he knew about all those things. That would have fueled his ideas for a kind of Pan-African consciousness and the need to rally a wide range of people in pursuit of what he wanted.
In the United States of America, he came across, writings of George Padmore and co, who were in the Pan-African movement, W.E. Du Bois and all. And eventually in 1945, he linked up with them in Manchester, United Kingdom, where they organized the 5th Pan-African Congress. And they decided to accelerate the struggle for liberation of Africa.
As men of thought and action, they exerted great influence on the young Nkrumah. His ideas for the unity of all Africans later came to be known as Pan-Africanism. In his book, I Speak of Freedom, Nkrumah wrote, "Divided we are weak, united, Africa could become one of the greatest forces for good in the world." After 12 years of being away from the colony, Nkrumah was invited to become the Secretary General of the first ever political party in the Gold Coast, the UGCC. Nkrumah and the founding members of the party were later known as the Big Six. 1948 was the year that saw the Gold Coast go through perennial unrest that resulted to boycotts and mass action. Goods that were brought in by Asian, Lebanese, and European traders were too expensive for the locals to afford.
There was a boycott of British goods because people felt that the Association of West African Merchants, which included all the British and expatriate firms, had raised prices far beyond the capacity of Ghanaians.
The colonial government blamed the leaders of the UGCC for stirring up trouble, and this led to the arrest of Dr. Nkrumah and the UGCC party members. They were imprisoned in James Fort and were charged with instigation, looting, and rioting. The imprisonment did not deter Nkrumah from his continued opposition against British rule.
His arrest did not in any way dampen enthusiasm within the party that he had founded, largely because some of the activists remained outside the prison wall.
1951 was the year that saw the Gold Coasters voting for self-rule. By this time, Kwame Nkrumah had split from the UGCC to form his party, CPP.
In 1951, the party that he formed out of the United Gold Coast Convention, which was the Convention People's Party, won a landslide victory in the general elections, and he became the leader of government business, or more or less the prime minister of the Gold Coast at the time.
In the struggle of CPP, there is victory for us.
CPP had a big following. The youth particularly believed in Kwame Nkrumah and his ideologies, and actively campaigned for his release. After the party's landslide victory, the pressure on the colonial government to free Nkrumah increased.
At Accra, a huge crowd cheers as Kwame Nkrumah leaves James Fort Prison freed by the governor as an act of grace on the eve of the inauguration of the new constitution.
The British governor, Sir Charles Arden Clark, eventually recognized him as the Prime Minister. Between 1945 and 1965, a significant number of African countries gained independence from European colonial powers. Ghana became the first African country south of the Sahara to gain independence on 6th March 1957.
When the Gold Coast successfully get their independence officially, Ghana is the name. Ghana, we wish to proclaim. We will be.
And we are going to see that we create our own African personality and identity. We dedicate ourselves not only in the struggle to emancipate other countries in Africa. Our independence is meaningless unless it links up the total reflection of the African continent.
Jerry Rawlings, a former head of state, remembers the mood of the time.
We were playing football, and I could hear the siren, and everybody sort of stopped wherever they were, listening to the siren. But of course, I mean, not me. I was chasing after the ball, and I found I was the only one chasing after the ball while everybody was listening to the siren. When I ran into a barbed wire, and that's the scar I have here, on that day.
Those who have hats on, to take off your hats and let the band play our national anthem. And from now on, that national anthem is the national anthem of the Gogo to be played on all occasions.
The mood was electrified. Everybody was seeing the dawn of a new beginning. This was the day on which he said that the African was capable of governing himself. And he said that we as Africans should be allowed to make our own mistakes. That was an incredible day.
Its freedom served as an inspiration to other African countries struggling against colonial rule, and as a result, Ghana occupied a central role in the fight against imperialists. On 31st December 1957, while in office as Prime Minister, Kwame Nkrumah quit the Bachelors Club. Fatia Ritz and Kwame Nkrumah became husband and wife a few hours after she landed in Accra from Egypt. This was a marriage that baffled many. It was not understood why Kwame Nkrumah asked for a bride from Egypt. She did not speak English, and neither did Kwame speak Arabic.
Mother was a young woman from a different culture. She left her family to come and her home base to come and live here. So I think it was a challenging marriage in a sense, but I remember her saying she would do it all over again.
He, I think, did not marry her because she was in love. I think he just felt that it was time for him because of his position. He was then Prime Minister and then eventually became President in 1960. I think he needed to have that image.
Together, they had 3 children, Gamal, Samia, and Sekou. From a previous relationship, he fathered a son, Francis Nkrumah.
We had an ordinary childhood in the sense that our